Hello everyone, and this is my review for Monday Night Raw on August 11, 2014, and this is basically the go-home show, at least Monday Night Raw was, before SummerSlam, and boy was this a bad show. I did not enjoy this show at all. You didn't really get much altercations with certain superstars. You did get at least some closure to some of the storylines, but you didn't really get anything big with the main storylines. And probably the only real enjoyable part of the show for me was, outside the Randy Orton Sheamus match, which was a good match, was the Brock Lesnar Paul Heyman segment at the beginning of the show, and then the retaliation. Or not retaliation, but retort from John Cena later on in the show. Those were probably the best two segments on the show. The promo that Heyman did was spectacular, as it usually is, and I do again like the more serious aspect behind John Cena going into the actual pay-per-view match, and I like that they used that a little bit towards the end with the Hulk Hogan celebration as well, which you knew was going to pretty much be a kind of a throwaway segment. It's kind of sad that it had to end the show versus being earlier on. But other than that, I did not really enjoy the altercations all that much. And I don't think you really got much with, if I remember correctly, you don't really get much with Randy Orton and Roman Reigns outside of promos. And then, of course, you brought back Corporate Kane, which, is nothing good. They have nothing good for Kane at this time, and the characters that they keep throwing him into are throwing him into more silly and awkward type situations, honestly, in my own personal opinion. I do somewhat like his talking skills, especially with the corporate side, but I just don't see Kane as that kind of character in any way. And maybe that's just because of how he had always been in the past with his character. So I don't really care for the Corporate Kane side, and I didn't really like any of the build that they did with Orton and Roman Reigns going into that pay-per-view match. The Seth Rollins Dean Ambrose build-up, it was really good leading into Battleground, and then you had just that schmoz of a brawl at the Battleground pay-per-view. But the lead-up going into SummerSlam has been very lackluster. Now they're making it a lumberjack match versus some other kind of stipulation match. I mean, I get it. You've had Seth Rollins kind of running away from Dean Ambrose at all times, and this kind of negates that. But a lumberjack match for what's supposed to be your second biggest pay-per-view of the year doesn't seem to fit the bill for a stipulation in that kind of match. Same goes for the Rusev and Jack Swagger match. One, I mean, you saw his match with Cesaro there, Jack Swagger and Cesaro, which no one got into. The crowd just felt dead for that entire match. They don't really seem to be getting behind Jack Swagger all that much. They kind of more get behind when Zeb Coulter is talking, and then they do the We the People thing. Other than that match, the fans were pretty much dead for him. And then, you're making Rusev and Swagger a flag match at the pay-per-view, which is probably honestly one of the worst matches to come up with in any way. Now it's going to be the pay-per-view match. Just overall, in almost every way, at least the Paige and AJ thing was kind of interesting, and you have Paige continually playing mind games with AJ, but then AJ kind of does a heel-esque type thing at the end of her match by instead of going after Paige, she attacks Eva Marie. So it just did not really make all that much sense in that case, and the same goes for the Brie Bella and Stephanie McMahon storyline. This is probably the one, the first week that I really didn't care for it all that much, because the segment with the therapist for Daniel Bryan and saying she's having an affair, it came off bad. She came off horrible on the microphone and everything. I'm not sure if that was made by intent from her just to make her feel like she was nervous, but honestly, that whole segment did not come off all that well. And then, of course, they did the flip-flop where now Brie gets herself arrested because because of what she did, and it just did not come off all that well. Hopefully the pay-per-view itself will come off a lot better, but I'm very iffy and wary about two of the matches on the pay-per-view. The flag match and the lumberjack match. They're not all that great of stipulation matches to begin with, and now they have both of them on the pay-per-view itself. You have, and then of course you have Stephanie McMahon and Brie Bella. That's going to be that's going to be a bit interesting because Stephanie plays such a good heel that people will probably get behind that match, even though it might not be the most technically sound match that ever, not the most technically sound match to ever watch. And Paige and AJ, that should be a fun one to watch, and will serve as the divas that can actually wrestle, in getting behind their storyline at that point. The Miz and Dolph Ziggler. Their interaction this week was pretty much what they've been doing, at least Miz-wise, causing a distraction, trying to get into Dolph Ziggler's head, costing him the match this week with Heath Slater, and then, Dolph Ziggler gets his heat back by getting over on Slater. Nothing really all that good. But like I said, overall, just outside of the Randy Orton and Sheamus match, the best segments on the show were with Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman, and then Cena as well. And just overall, the rest of the show is very lackluster in a bad way, honestly, to go into the SummerSlam pay-per-view. And, that's pretty much all I have to say on it. Not outside the fact that you had to continually hear all the network plugs again and then continually plug the $9.99 thing. It's becoming more and more annoying to listen to them plug the network that hard on the network. And it's not like they're plugging it all that good either. It's just them basically saying what it is. It's not like them coming up with something creative for, plugging the network. It's just them spouting out how many times the whole $9.99 thing. It's getting really bad, and the show itself this week was really bad as well. So, that's my review this week for Monday Night Raw, and I thank you guys for watching.